Hello everyone, Andy Schwab here with your Northern Ag TV. The global beef trade is undergoing several key changes as 2026 gets underway, as those shifts are already influencing the U.S. beef markets. As of January 1st, the U.S. tariff rate quota for beef imports from countries without specific quotas or free trade agreements dropped just over 52,000 metric tons, while a new 13,000 metric ton quota was created for the United Kingdom. Once that quota is filled, imports face a 26.5% tariff, and that encourages early year shipments and tightens access later in the year. Now, these changes are also setting the tone for global beef flows in 2026. Another major development comes from China, which announced that the results of its beef safeguard investigation. China established export quotas for major suppliers and imposed a steep 55% tariff on beef shipped above those limits. Now, while the United States would technically fall under a quota system, mostly U.S. beef processing facilities no longer have valid export registrations to China, and that is keeping the shipments minimal. However, the larger concern is indirect. Beef that cannot move into China from Brazil, Australia, and Argentina is expected to be redirected into other key markets like Japan and South Korea. That's adding competition and could pressure U.S. exports in those destinations, while also increasing beef supplies available to the United States. When we look at North America, Mexico is also adjusting beef import policies. A new 70,000 metric ton quota limits the imports from other countries without free trade agreements, replaces a previous anti-inflation decree that allowed for the duty-free access. Now, Brazilian beef shipments to Mexico have been rising since 2023, and quite frankly, pretty sharply rising, as that new quota could also slow the growth potential supporting U.S. beef exports into Mexico. Even so, overall U.S. beef exports are already trending lower. Through the first 10 months of last year, exports were down more than 12% year over year. Lower production, record high domestic prices, and trade tensions have contributed to that decline. Lastly, South Korea and Japan remain the top two U.S. beef exporting markets, each holding about a 24% share themselves, as those shipments to Japan slipped. And now I should say that they did slip slightly last year for Japan. Now, Mexico has been ranking about third, while Canada follows and Taiwan right behind them. Of course, the sharpest drop has come from China and Hong Kong combined, where those exports have fallen nearly 49% year over year. That's all following the retaliatory tariffs that have essentially closed the mainland China, while Hong Kong has once again become the primary outlet. Looking ahead, analysts expect the U.S. beef exports to decline further in 2026, while strong cattle and beef prices have masked the impact so far. Now, that lost export volume and market share, well, it could weigh on the industry for years to come. Well, that's going to do it for today's Northern Ag TV. I'm Andy Schwab. Have a great rest of your day.